feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer!
I don't care what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rule!
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. I'm Chris. This is Dom. Just a couple of comics who like talking sports. And who are we talking about today, bud?
Well, today we are back on the ice.
That's right.
And we're talking about the best Finnish hockey player ever.
The Finnish Flash.
The Finnish Flash. Not someone who exposes himself in the park with a trench coat because of how fast he goes. We got Teemu Selänne here, everybody. So Teemu Ilmari Selänne, born July 3rd, 1970 in Helsinki, Finland, was a twin, I had read. Brother Paavo and another brother Panu. Parents Lisa and Ilmari. He grew up in Rauma and Espoo, and he was an athlete growing up, like all types of different sports.
But mainly two ice sports, which I thought was funny. The Bondi or whatever it was called, which is just, it's hockey with a ball and a way bigger rink or whatever you want to call it. So it was an interesting one. And then football or soccer, and then hockey, and then his brother also athletes.
Yeah, he played with his twin brother quite a bit. He was smaller growing up, but playing with kind of the older kids instilled some toughness in him. And he joined the junior team in Jokerit there in Helsinki. I did read he went to business school for 2 years.
And he did his military service.
Well, I mean, this is still during the Cold War. You got to keep those Soviets over there. You can't all just be dancing on the Berlin Wall in a piano key light-up leather jacket.
In our Yankee blue jeans. You know what I...
Yankee blue jeans. I also saw that he was a kindergarten teacher for 3 years, which I want to see the Finnish version of Kindergarten Cop.
Oh, damn, do I want to see that so much.
You'll have all the moms hitting on him. Just little kid with a bowl cut. Girls have...
Instead of him getting shot in the shower, he's just hitting slap shots at the bad guy.
He's just smoking darts in a jean jacket with Brett Hull.
Come on.
But he, much like Gordon Bombay, he killed it in Pee-wees, killed it in juniors.
That's very true.
43 goals in 87, 88, and they won the Junior A championship. And then in 1988, at the Montreal Forum, where they're holding the NHL draft, he's part of quite a stacked draft class there. Jeremy Roenick, Mark Recchi, Rob Blake are all selected in this 88 draft. And Teemu was taken at number 10 by the Winnipeg Jets.
And I found this interesting because the Jets' philosophy at that time was to let their young players develop in Europe, which was really smart.
Oh, yeah.
So he ends up going back to Jokerit and playing for until 92. So he's drafted in 88, and he literally plays like 4 years and does his military service in this time.
Hitting on soccer moms, bandy moms, I guess, if you're from Finland.
Now we're talking.
One of the years he was a bit injured, but he's just lighting it up for the senior team there. And as we discussed in our WHA episode, the Jets have been all about European players since their inception in the old WHA, because it's like, we just need bodies, but then you're like, oh, man, these guys are, like, good.
Yes.
These guys are really good. In 91-92, he has 62 points in 44 games. He ended up winning the championship that year, which is a good way to cap off his Finnish hockey career. And by 92-93, though, he's not signed by Winnipeg.
So he's what we call a restricted free agent, so other teams can give him offers and Winnipeg can match him.
Yeah, like they hold his rights, but he's like technically still with them.
Yep.
Calgary comes in for 3 years and $2.7 million, which is $1.5 million higher than the Jets were offering, because most of these smaller Canadian cities with NHL teams are pretty cash poor.
Oh yeah.
But they still ended up matching the offer because they're like, no, we can't not have this guy. We're struggling financially. We need to have this guy on our team.
I watched because I just watch stuff about these guys a lot of the time, and they had whoever the GM was of the Flames at that time, and he was literally like, I should have gave him $10 million. Like it was such a thing where he's just like it was hubris where I was just like, oh, I mean 2.5. This is a kid, and he turns into this like amazing, or not even turns into, but he like fills this hype of being this amazing goal scorer. And the guy from Calgary was just like, it was a mistake. We should have offered him
$11 billion.
Yes, but like he was like, we should have offered him more than Winnipeg could have paid.
He could have been just toot-skiing with Theo Fleury at that juncture.
I know, and that's what they were saying was like, can you imagine that Flames team?
They granted their goaltending, I don't know, but they would have scored a lot of goals.
Yep.
On those teams. But he's a hard 22, Chris. He's served in the military. He's kindergarten copping it. He's gone to business school. This is a man.
This is a
Mike Gundy. I'm a man. I'm 40, but I'm a man. I'm 22.
Ooh.
So October 6th is his first game. They beat the Red Wings 4-1, and he has 2 assists. And then he has his first goal on October 8th against the Sharks. And then in his 5th game, he has a hat trick. 11. It's like Fernando Valenzuela, only like Teemu Mania in Winnipeg, I guess.
Yeah. Well, coming into the season, everybody thought Eric Lindros was going to be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And then they were saying 12 games in, Selänne was like, no. I'm taking that trophy. You're gonna witness one of the best rookie seasons of all time.
I'm gonna put Finland on the map.
Yeah.
Like as a hockey place.
What I loved, because I read this thing that they were like, before he even came to America, he was a mega star in Finland.
Oh yeah,
because they were like, this is our future. This is our, hockey future.
Like we're giving him to you. He's still ours.
Yeah, he's still ours.
We're loaning him to you.
That's right.
He on March 2nd, 93, he breaks Mike Bossy's rookie record with 53 goals against the Nords.
And he doesn't stop there. He has in this season,
it's ridiculous.
He had a 20-goal streak in 1 month in 14 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was so good throughout this entire season.
I mean, when you're 6 foot 200 pounds and fast, because this is about the same time Bure's with Vancouver. So you got these guys coming from Europe just lighting it up.
I don't remember who said this, but somebody was just like, they're fast players, and then there's Teemu, where he's just like, he was that much faster than like everybody out there.
Well, Chris, lightning can run on ice, according to the 1993 film Cool Runnings. So he broke Peter Stastny's points record.
Yep.
Later there for a rookie. Finished 5th in scoring with 76 goals and 132 points. He, oddly enough, was tied for first in goals with Alexander Mogilny, another Soviet player who kind of emerged in this time, who was also picked in the 88 draft, which I thought was like, that was a stacked class here. They end up making the playoffs. Granted, they lose to Bure and the Canucks, but he's a mainstay and he wins a Rookie of the Year, like you said. Like, over all of the hype with Lindros, and you're like, all right, now, number 1, where is Finland? Number 2, where is Winnipeg? Where did this guy come from?
Well, he had 132 points and 76 goals. Like, it was such an amazing rookie season that going into his next season, there was almost too much hype.
Yeah, and he's kind of hobbled this year.
He gets a little injured. Yep.
Still 54 points in 51 games.
But he misses like 33 games or something in this season.
Yeah, he had an Achilles injury against the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim.
Which we'll bring back. It wasn't even an Achilles. So he was playing, it was like that game that you play, you hit all the posts.
Oh,
and he broke this one guy, and the guy just slashed his knee out.
You mean Wolf the Dentist Stanson was
I didn't
want to
bring up his name. I didn't want to bring up his name.
That guy's a dentist?
That guy's a dentist? God, that's one of my favorite lines.
Oh, my God. So, still has a good season. I did want to add on January 12th, 94, he had his 100th goal in only 130 games. Only Mike Bossy
had more.
Yeah.
Or went to 100 goals quicker. That's what I mean.
Exactly. It's absolutely ridiculous. Jokerit wins the 94 Euro Cup.
So so in 94-95 we get the NHL lockout. This is something
lockouts? I've never had a lockout.
This is something that I actually love is he goes back to Jokerit and they go into the Euros and he wins the Euro Cup, and then like, can you even imagine going back to your like I don't even know, your little league team and just smashing a bunch of kids? Like, I don't even know.
Just like hitting dingers off like a 9-year-old and just pimping them. Like the, what's his name? Carlos and the Benchwarmers.
Yeah.
I am 12. Teemu, everyone knows who you are. So they missed the postseason in 94, 95 due to the law. It was actually, we talked in our Forsberg episode, because the Nords waited to bring him up before or until after the lockout, I think.
Yeah.
So he was over playing in Sweden. 95, 96, he's starting great. Like, he's scoring, he's healthy.
But now is when the rumors are really starting to swirl about, especially in this 95 draft?
Yes.
But that was when everybody was like, oh, he's too big for Winnipeg.
And the team's on the verge of moving.
Yep.
So once that contract expires, they're not going to be able to pay him. And they're ready to go to Phoenix of all freaking places.
Something that I literally found out from doing our hockey research is the Canadian teams were so cash-strapped at this point because they were paying players in Canadian dollars. Yep. And then this is literally when players were like, no, we're not taking those Canuck chucks.
These are goddamn loonies!
Loonies and toonies and all of that crap. So not only would they had to have paid him more, they would have had to like pay him that much more in dollars.
It's like $1.50 to a loony, essentially, at this. That's why do you think the 94 Expos sold everyone?
Exactly.
Essentially. So he has 72 points in the first 51 games, but February 6, 1996, he's traded for 2 first-round picks, Chad Kilger and Oleg Tverdovsky, and a third-round pick, along with Mark Chouinard and a fourth-round pick going to Anaheim.
Yep.
So he's going to Anaheim. Nobody told him.
No, he showed up to practice.
Yeah. It's like, Teemu, do you watch the news? The Finnish news? No one's told me.
Well, he said he was very hurt by this because he felt like he was putting a lot into this organization, and then he just showed up to practice once, and they're like, see ya. They said he packed up his locker and left without saying goodbye to anybody.
That is the ultimate. Well, I know it's an Irish goodbye, but what's a Finnish goodbye? Did he just flip them off?
Yep.
He was leaving. But, I mean, if you're going, it's like, that's it, back to Winnipeg. But if you're going, like, from Winnipeg and you're going to Anaheim, that's a huge market.
Oh,
Granted,
yes.
the team is not great, but they have some good players on there.
No, they just got out of the Goodwill games.
Well, I mean,
now they're in professional hockey.
That cake eater Banks is fully healed from his wrist injury. I mean, you got Julie the cat between the pipes. This is great.
Well, and this was the year that they outlawed the knuckle puck, so they had to have a scorer.
Poor Russ Tyler. Anyway, Paul Kariya, who was in D3, is the other main star.
I was just
picked him up in the draft a year or two before.
Which they end up forming one of the best relationships over this first span that he has with the Ducks.
It's like Stockton to Malone, only one of them isn't into 17 going on 12. Was that it?
Hey. I've never heard that about Stockton.
That's true. You never heard that about Stockton. Sometimes you don't want to go to the Malone zone. But they actually met at the All-Star game that year. So they end up making the postseason, led by Coach Gordon Bombay.
That's right.
36 points in 28 games with Anaheim. And they end up in 96, 97, the following years when they make the playoffs, I should say. He has 109 points. 109 points. They go to the postseason for the first time in their franchise's history. And the West was stacked, as we've talked about in previous episodes. So who do they draw in the first round? But the old Jets. The old Jets, they're in Phoenix.
The new Coyotes, who now are the Salt Lake Soakers, which is such a weird team name. But
I wonder, do they sell the magic underwear at concessions, or how does that work?
They
in the
have
team
to.
Apparel shirt? I would think
you know
so,
what I mean?
right?
Like, you have to sell that
Everyone
stuff.
has to bike to work. There are no car. You are not driving a car. Nobody makes the team this year. Nobody. So the big criticism with them making the playoffs, I had read, though, is they're a one-line team.
Yeah, they're a
one.
Yeah.
But even if you are a one-line team, at this juncture in the NHL, those are two of the best players in the league on the same line. They end up winning in 7 games. They're swept by Detroit, who won the Stanley Cup that year in the following round. But you're thinking this team is primed for postseason.
I was going to say, he had 109 points. Everything, they have a young team. Like, it's just looking up for these Ducks.
It is. And then in the following year, he makes the All-Star game again. He's MVP of the game.
I was going to say, this is when he gets MVP of that All-Star game. And you see him as one of those guys that you're like, oh, this guy could have 500 goals in his career without
breaking a sweat.
Without going like 22. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, this guy And with Paul Kariya, that was the big thing where it really was this combo that was like almost untouchable.
No, they were a fantastic duo. They just happened to play in a conference where everyone is like littered with Hall of Famers.
Yep.
He has his 500 point that year with an assist against the Kings. Was a finalist for the Hart Trophy, which is the MVP. And then the following year, he wins the Rocket Richard Trophy as the league's top scorer.
Yep.
107 points that year. They make the playoffs, but they're swept by Detroit.
They keep getting mauled by Detroit.
Everyone is mauled by.
I know.
Steve Yzerman is just RoboCop at this juncture. And then 99, 2000, 85 points again. And 2000, 2001 has 59 points in 61 games. But the Ducks are
last place.
They're in last place, and they're looking to rebuild.
Yep.
They're tearing everything down. And March 5th, 2001, he's traded to the Sharks, who are looking to make a deep postseason run. But he doesn't start right away because he has surgery on his right knee.
Yeah, he has like a nagging knee injury that needs to be taken care of. And not that he doesn't do great in San Jose, but I felt like he wasn't hitting the numbers that he was in Anaheim.
Well, he's injured. He's on a new team. He's kind of getting used to it. They lose in the first round again. So I don't even think he's made it out of the first or outside of the first year.
Yeah, outside of beating Phoenix that time.
Not very deep postseason runs. The following season, he leads the team in goals.
Yep.
They beat Phoenix in the playoffs because that's like the Jets. That's
what people
you
do.
That's what you do. And then I remember this other series in the semifinals. They lost in 7 to the Avalanche.
Oh, yeah.
And that was back and forth. He had 8 points that postseason. And then the following year has 64 points, but the Sharks end up really being kind of crappy.
And they end up setting up a trade with New Jersey at the end of this year to send him to the Devils, and he actually declines it.
Which would have been an amazing spider web because who do they play in the Stanley Cup Finals that year?
Who did they play? Did they play
Anaheim?
That was
the
that's
Giguère
when they
series. Yeah, that was the Giguère series.
That's so wild. And it's wild that he declined it because we see where he goes this next year. He ends up going to Colorado because he thinks it's the best chance of him winning a Stanley Cup. But you're like, you just said no to the Devils.
Were stacked.
I know.
Like you have guys in the stands with Devils painted on them.
Dude.
The face. But then again, maybe he's like Randy Marsh just going, fuck New Jersey.
Got to support the team.
Support the team. God. So you're right. He goes to Colorado the next year, and Kariya's there.
And that's why I think that I think they were talking. They're like, let's meet up in Colorado. We'll win a Stanley Cup. And
they're ring chasing, essentially.
Yes.
Which you can't blame them for.
No.
But as we talked about in our Forsberg episode, this is the end.
Yeah.
Before a very kind of dark decade for the Avs. Mm-hmm. So,
and this is his worst season. It's such an interesting thing because you go to a new team, kind of different system, and I felt like he just didn't fit in. I mean, he did so bad this season, they dropped him to the fucking 4th line.
Well, that's because Russ Tyler plays there.
Oh, that's so true.
So, Colorado does okay in the playoffs. They beat Dallas, but then they lose to San Jose. And then he has surgery again for his knee issues because that I think was what was like he's trying to play through these injuries.
Yep.
And it's just like he's gutting it out. You can't blame him, but the productivity wasn't there. The next season there's a lockout because it's hockey, like a full season lockout. They just iced an entire season.
Wait a second, the NHL locked out? I had to do the same joke because it's so ridiculous.
So what does he do when he comes back from Finland? He signs back with the Ducks.
And they're not the Mighty Ducks anymore.
No, they're the Anaheim Ducks.
That's right.
Because they're erasing history. Such glorious history. How can Emilio Estevez be blamed for anything?
Why would he?
They could have called them the Anaheim Sheens.
Yeah, I guess it was a whittle noisy. Say a whittle?
The man had 30 DUIs. Come on. This is a kid's movie. And it was great.
It
was so great. Anyway. So he goes back to Anaheim that year, and he got his Winnipeg number back, actually. He started as 13, but when Sandis Ozolinsh left, they gave him number 8, which is, what it should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
He scores his 1,000th point there in a on January 30th, 2006 against the Kings. He had 90 points this year. It was like it was almost like that year off was actually what he needed.
Yes, because like you were saying, he had this knee injury that just wouldn't go away, and then they locked out for a year, and he was like, "Thank you."
Yeah,
like literally, like I needed that.
Oh, I can be healthy now.
Yeah,
and I'm not like an old man particularly yet.
No,
so.
yeah.
And he's a hard 36, Chris. So he wins the Masterson Trophy that year, the Dedication Perseverance Award.
Yep.
They beat Calgary in 7 in the playoffs. They sweep the Avs and go all the way to the Western Conference Finals. He's never made it that far, but they end up losing to the Oilers.
Yep.
2006, 2007. He's 37 years old. He had 94 points. And and I should note, he's signing these 1-year deals.
Oh, I did want to point this out. When he came back from Colorado, so the 1-year deal he signed in Colorado was like almost $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up doing so bad that he signed a $1 million deal in Anaheim, and then the next year they literally gave him like a $4 million deal because they were like, no, you're good. We're going to give you the money you deserve.
You can still play. You can still play.
Yeah.
Essentially. He scored his 500th goal that year. 36 got to do it, and the second Finn after Jari Kurri on all those great Fear Oilers teams.
I was going to say, who was his idol growing up. So.
Those guys hurting their nose.
Whoa.
Go listen to the Grant Fear one. It's
I know. It's wild, actually. I still think about that.
He played in his 1,000th game on January 31st, and he played in his 10th All-Star game. That's amazing.
Yep.
I did read a story where on January 12, 2007, he had a friend in Finland with terminal cancer. He scored 3 goals for him.
Mm-hmm.
Take that, Paul O'Neill. I wanted to know if he scored with his helmet or not. I couldn't find it.
That's so good.
He broke Korea's franchise record for goals. And getting in the postseason, I mean, holy shit.
This is it.
This is the 1992 Ducks in those Minnesota State playoffs now.
Now, could you only imagine growing up loving that movie like we did, and then actually watching the Ducks and starting a quack chant?
Oh God!
I would die a happy man.
That Ducksworth guy was pretty pissed by the end of this postseason run. Imagine
Quack,
showing
quack.
up with pages of the Inquirer taped to your legs. So, they go to the postseason. They beat Minnesota 4-1. Then they run through Vancouver 4-1, and then they play Detroit in the conference finals and win in 6.
I was going to say they finally went over that hump of the Red Wings just killing everybody.
They were Detroit's only viable sports franchise at that point.
Meet Ottawa in the Stanley Cup
Mm-hmm.
and end up beating them in 5.
Which is amazing.
It was for this team that was like, especially for Teemu, who is at the twilight of his career, but still producing at an extremely high level.
And you know everyone was rooting for him. There was a great quote by Jaguar that said, "We don't have any better teammate. He's a guy who always has fun. He deserves this. And if we can keep him along the way, help him along the way, that would be great. I'd just love to see Teemu win this thing."
Yep.
Which is
I love that.
Like he literally checked every box except Stanley Cup by this point.
Yep.
And you would think maybe he's going to retire because there were people who were saying he might.
At the end of the season, he was literally saying, like, I contemplated it. And then he just played for 6 more years. So
yeah, like ridiculously. So he scored his 670th point to break Korea's record that year in 07-08 for total points in franchise history. And then they end up losing to Dallas in the playoffs. But the following year, he signs a 2-year deal. So he's just
locked in,
keeping the train rolling, even though he's I read he missed some time this year with a quad injury. He was cut by his own skate.
Yeah, while being hit. So he got hit, and it sounds wild.
I'm the only guy who took off a skate and tried to stab myself. So 54 points as a 39-year-old. He was the 6th European that year to score over 1,200 points. And in his 100th playoff game, they pulled the upset against the Sharks in the first round. They were the last team in the playoffs, and they beat Dallas or San Jose. And then they end up losing to the Red Wings.
Of course.
That was the No, that was the year they made it to the finals, but they lost to the Pens.
Oh, okay.
In 7. But they were the defending champions that year, Detroit. 2009, 2010, he got 48 points. And then in March 21st, 2010, 600 goals. The following month, he passed Jari Kurri for the most by any Finn ever. And then the following year, at 41, 80 points.
It's amazing.
Third highest ever behind Gordie Howe, obviously.
Yeah, well.
And then Johnny Buchik, I think. I don't know how to say that one. But still, Gordie Howe, I mean, he's got his AARP card, and he's lighting the lamp there for him. January 16th, 2011, 1,300th point with 2 goals against Edmonton. But a knee injury, they're out of the playoffs early. And 2011, 2012, he was the oldest guy ever to play all 82 games. He's a cyborg when he's healthy.
It's crazy to think of like what a workhorse he is. Like this is why I said that he was literally going to retire 2008. And then he plays 6 more years and is still like in one of his he played 82 games this year. It's insane.
There are healthy MVPs that don't play 82 games.
I know.
Fucking Warrior. That season, I did want to add, it's the first season after the Thrashers moved to Winnipeg and they became the new Jets. So when the Ducks went and played there, all of the Jets fans booed every Anaheim player except him.
Yep.
Which is like,
Yep.
God. Oh, no. They have a lockout the next year, so he doesn't get in a lot. He's experienced
3 lockouts. I thought that too. I was like, God, NHL.
They make the playoffs, but they lose to the Red Wings. And then the following year, misses some games. He had an errant stick in the face. Like, do you think his off-season training was going back to Finland and just going into a batting cage like Happy Gilmore? And just taking balls off the dome.
Did you not hear the story behind this hockey hit to the face?
No.
Oh, my God. So this one guy on their team, he practices voodoo. He takes this shot, and as he's skating out on the ice, he goes, "Up your butt, Joe Boo." Stick comes out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, hits him in the face. It's crazy.
Next time you're on the plane, it's like, he's not fooled. So...
hold on, you telling me Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
Telling me Teemu Selänne can't score a hat trick? So, his last game, they end up playing Colorado, and Jaguara's there, who they also thought was going to retire, which is awesome. They made him the honorary captain, but coming off 40 stitches as a 44-year-old man playing hockey? Oh, God. They go to the postseason. They beat Dallas, but end up losing to the Kings. His last game on May 16th, 2014, he took a final victory lap, which much deserved.
I know. It's really one of the great NHL careers, and I will always think of him as a Duck.
Yeah.
That's like where I think of him as. So like it's such an interesting like path that his career had. 3 lockouts.
3 lockouts.
10 All-Stars. 1 Stanley Cup. Can't say enough about him.
Well, we got to get into it too. His international career was just as impressive.
Dude, I forgot about the international career.
At the 88 Euro Juniors, he was an all-star. 89, they finished 6th, so he's Finland's best player.
Yes,
like
by far.
In his prime, the 92 Olympics was tied for the scoring lead with 7 goals. And then at the 96 Worlds, they finished 5th, as well as the 96 World Cup. And in the 98 Olympics, he was a leading scorer again. So he's not just the best in the NHL, he's the best in the world on the world stage. And when you're Finland, you got a good hockey team, but you're not like fucking Sweden, Canada.
If you look at his career, it's a lot of bronze and silver medals and a lot of individual awards for being like top scorer, top points producer. Like it's interesting.
99 at the Worlds, they end up finishing, I believe, 2nd again. He was a captain for the 92 Olympics, though, which I thought was pretty special. At the 2004 World Cup, that was the tournament that sparked him on this late career run, where he kind of just found whatever that secret sauce, whatever it is to keep him going forward. He ended up the highest scoring Olympic. The guy in the Olympics who scored the most goals, when he finished his career. That's ridiculous. Like, he was still playing on the world stage when he's in his 40s.
And scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, did you see anything about his drag racing?
No.
So he's really into cars, apparently. He loves cars and auto racing. He would race under a suit, or he would race under a fake name, Teemu Selänne. He was known as Teddy Flash.
Oh my God.
Is that not the most Kenny Powers thing you've ever?
So good.
What's he gonna go by? Ron Mexico or Carlos Danger? Nope, Teddy Flash.
God, that's great.
He was involved in a 1999 crash, though, where the Finnish Ice Hockey Association president was with him. He ended up in a wheelchair for 4 months.
Oh,
Not
damn.
Teemu, but the other guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Fined $50,000.
Damn.
But as you were saying, 10-time All-Star, 1,457 points.
Yeah.
That's
Crazy.
unbelievable. I don't care where you're from. Saw he starred in a movie called Minor Leaguer with Brett Hull, which, I mean, we're talking darts in a jean jacket and hitting on soccer moms. I mean, what two other guys would you want?
Yeah.
He also became a U.S. citizen. I don't know if you saw that, but he's still in L.A. He likes it here, apparently.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
fantastic.
No, I love it.
But Teemu Selänne, everybody, one of the best hockey players and best Finnish hockey player ever.
And maybe the best rookie year we'll ever see.
Yeah, no one's going to
It's
do that anymore.
Pretty ridiculous.
No,
Yeah.
not even close.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.